Yeah, or John, or Bob will be here, hopefully, at least in time to vote. All right, we can go ahead and get started? Okay. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order for ZBA July 19th, 2023. Rob, can I have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Member O'Brien?
Here.
Member Murphy?
Here.
Member Lee?
Here.
Chairman Neiman is on his way. And Member Giltner?
Here. So before we get started, can I have a motion to swear me in as Chairman Pro Tem?
Motion to appoint Member Gildner as Chairman Pro Tem for the August 17th meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Will the, Rob, will that continue throughout the meeting, or when Rob gets here, then he'll just switch into his role?
We'll just
Just
maintain
continue
you as
on.
Chairman
Okay.
Pro Tem.
Okay, great. Next on the agenda is approval of minutes for the April 19th meeting. Any comments or corrections for those minutes?
Nope.
I had none.
Move we approve those minutes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So next on the agenda is approval of final decisions or findings of fact. There are none. Receipt of appearances. Since we do have a public hearing, this says, whoops, sorry. Wrong month. This is the ZBA August 17th meeting. So for receipt of appearances, could we have anyone who's wishing to speak be sworn in? Okay, so those are approval minutes for the July 19th meeting. Rob, you'll have that all corrected in the
Yes, I will.
in the minutes. Okay. So any received requests, motions, pleadings, requests to make public comment of a general nature? Seeing no one here. Next item, pre-hearing, we have none. So that brings us to the public hearing for V-02-23. The representative who will speak, step on up.
So, Kerry Leonard, I'm owner's representative for the Hinsdale School District 181, and also here to answer any questions, Mike Dugan, who's Director of Facilities for School District 181. So, thank you for hearing our variation application tonight. Last month we introduced the project, and tonight I'd like to maybe briefly go through the variations and then provide an overview of the standards in a general overview and not go through each one individually, although I'm happy to answer any questions individually, any details, go through any of the exhibits. But I thought that overview approach to start with would probably be the best way. So if that's okay, I'll kind of roll right into this. So I thought maybe one way that help you maybe look at this in the light that we're trying to approach it in is maybe to imagine back a few years ago to when the Hinsdale Middle School had just recently been approved through Plan Commission, through the ZBA, and through the Village Board. And also the parking deck at that point, the village's parking deck were approved. Nothing had been built yet. There was all under construction. And we should have been coming to you at that point asking for approval for this signage. That would have been the normal course, and we've discussed the reasons why that didn't happen previously. But the application would be the same that you're seeing tonight. The standards would be the same as that we're talking about tonight. There's only, I think, 3 differences. As I mentioned, unfortunately, we didn't ask for that approval at that time. I think you have an advantage because you can actually see some of this in place as opposed to have to interpret how it looks from a rendering. And then the third change is that there are changes that we are going to be making to the existing signage because of the Plan Commission review and comments and the work we did getting to the point where we're now asking for these variations. But it really is the same set of standards. It's the same variance application that would have been done. And so I want you to kind of think of that hopefully a little bit that way as we go through this, these material tonight. So just to recap briefly, there are 7 signs and 2 flags that are subject of this topic, and you see that they're labeled here as around the building. But I think they group together pretty easily when we talk about variances. So variance request 1 and 2 are for the number and the area of the building signs, and those are for signs 1 through 4, which are existing, and sign 5, which is the sign that's going to be relocated from the Garfield side, proposed to be located to the Washington, on the gymnasium side by the Washington Street. Then there's the variances 3 and 4, which have to do the size and the mounting height of the relocated blue ribbon emblem, and that's the emblem that was taken off the old building and put back. And the blue ribbon emblem under the code is a sign, so that's sign 6. And then there's variance request 5, which is the size of the American flag, and that will be on the existing flagpole. That's the flag that's been flying on the existing flagpole 1 on the south, and 2, which is planned for the east side of the building. What the Plan Commission also looked at, and for which variations are not required, are the monument sign. That's our sign 7. The flagpoles themselves, they're all conforming as far as their height and their locations, and the sign lighting that's being applied. So those are no variations are required for those. So to go through these standards a little bit, from a unique physical condition, a lot of this is in the written material, but we've also talked about this, the building size and location, the multiple traffic flows, the code required doors and security considerations at the school, and the parking requirements for the school, and also the village's parking deck that are there. Regarding the not self-created, the school has been a public school at that site for a long time. It wasn't caused by the current school board or administration. The building capacity, program requirements, the layout, they're all required to meet the state of Illinois requirements, mandated educational requirements. There's no control that the owner has over the size of the school. It has to serve the students of the communities that serve Hinsdale. If a child is born and they're entitled to a public education, the building has to be big enough to hold them. A replacement building had to be constructed on that site around the existing building. So how the building was located on that site and the sequencing, the work had to be done because there was no place to put kids temporarily for a couple of years. And then the village designed and built the parking deck. It was a joint project in the sense that it was part of the intergovernmental agreement, and there was some design decisions that the school district had relative to landscaping and a few other things, but it really is a village design parking deck. And when the building was first approved through the zoning process, the parking deck had not been designed at that point, so there didn't even know what it was going to be. The denied substantial right. So School District 181 is responsible for administration of the building, and that's managing traffic flows. That's the entry, the parking, the security, wayfinding. Those are all things that they're responsible for by law, and they need to address those in accordance with those requirements. And then just the flag size in Hinsdale, it's smaller than the flag size required by Illinois law for public schools. So there's an inherent conflict in that. We can't meet the law and the zoning requirements at the same time. Regarding the not merely a special privilege, public schools are units of local government. They have specific requirements imposed on them by the state. They also have unique standing in statute relative to zoning. There are specific requirements regarding the timing and approvals, as well as the deference given to school districts in their choices that they make in operating the school and in the functioning of the school. And public schools are unique in the village of Hinsdale and really in any community. Schools are located in residential areas. That's neighborhood schools. That's what gets built. And these are large buildings. They don't typically fit under any zoning ordinances in any community. that I've worked in over 35 years. They have to deal with traffic management, security, and other issues that are unlike any other building. So this is not a commercial venture. This is something that is a public body, a unit of local government. Relative to the code plan and purpose, the building did receive a unanimous approval in 2017. The parking deck also was approved later in 2017 regarding the building, how it was laid out on the site, how the entries and exit and parking all worked through those two approvals. And these approvals that we're bringing to you tonight, the variation request, have been approved by the Plan Commission. And they really are, as we've been told, and as the discussion we had with them indicated, the subject matter experts in this. And it was good discussion with them, and there were changes that were actually made based on the input that they provided. Regarding the essential character in the area, there is nothing that these variations will result in as far as any use or development of the site that would be detrimental or injurious or affect the property in the vicinity. Regarding other remedies, it really is a necessary component of the building design due to the building's size, siting, and use. There were alternative sites that we tried to find an alternative site at the time HMS was going to be rebuilt, and there was just no alternative sites that were available that could be considered at all. And as I mentioned, these variations, we believe, are necessary to meet the reasonable use of the property for a public school. With that, I'm happy to answer any specific questions that you may have regarding the signage, go into detail about a particular variance. I know there's been discussion about how you might treat these. Is it, all one? Is it the signage and maybe the flag, or you take them individually? That really is at your discretion, but I can add more, but I think it'd be better just to listen to any questions you have, and Mike and I can provide additional information.
Sure. Great, thank you. Are there any initial questions with any of the variances that have been submitted? No?
No, I'm grateful
Okay.
that I watched last month's meeting
Yeah.
video because it provided a lot of clarification. Sorry, I'm saying I'm grateful that I watched the video from last month's meeting because it provided a lot of clarification. And admittedly, I don't get over and take a good look at the middle school often, so appreciated all of that from last month, and I don't think I have any additional questions related to it.
So as far as treating them as a group or separate, if there were any issues with any of them, I figured we could separate them out, but as it seems like there aren't any questions and possibly no concerns, we'll see. As long as that's the case, then I think we could probably treat them as a package. So before we close the public hearing, is there anything else that you would like to state about variances?
No.
Okay. So the standards for variation that you provided, those were very helpful, and those weren't part of the initial last month's packet, were they, in that format?
I think the standards were laid out in the original application, but there was a cover letter that was submitted that went out to the members.
Right. Yeah, I tried to just, in this format,
Right.
combine the material from
Okay.
the different variations into a single
Right.
bullet-pointed slide.
Right. Okay. All right. So do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. So, any comments or questions about the variances as far as discussion?
I can start. I mean, all this seems very logical to me. I have a child in middle school and a child in grade school, so we're constantly going to neighborhood schools, and you're always searching for, okay, where's the drop-off, where's the entry? So, I mean, I think proper signage is very sensible, and it helps parents, visitors, it's great for safety, so I don't have any problems with any of this.
Me either. I'm struck when I drive by it. I'm struck when I drive by that there's so little signage on the
Yes.
building. I mean, it's just, they're tiny and they're back from the road, and I just can't see that the number and size is any kind of an issue here.
Ken?
Yeah, I mean, in light of the fact that all of the signage is existing today, and because the only proposed relocations of signage have been, you know, you've taken into consideration the Plan Commission's recommendations and have complied with those, and since they've granted their unanimous approval, I don't see any issues here. And obviously, access control to the site is extremely important, and yeah, you're right, there isn't a ton of signage on the building, and I'm actually curious to know what the two signs, it says in the initial application, there was 2 signs that were omitted. There was initially 8 signs, and I'm curious to know what the other 2 were that were removed.
There was a sign over on the 3rd Street side over the cafeteria that said cafeteria entry in case that was going to be used for nighttime events. And then the academic wing that's on the east side, again facing 3rd Street, had a sign over that doorway.
So I don't have anything else to add. I think there's been sufficient vetting that has gone through both the Planning Commission and the ZBA. So with that, is there a motion to approve or make the recommendation to the Board of Trustees for these variances?
Motion to recommend approval of the variances.
Second?
Can I have a roll call, please, Rob?
Sure. Member O'Brien?
Yes.
Member Murphy?
Yes.
Member Lee?
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Giltner?
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you. Next on the agenda, new business. Any new business to bring up? Old business? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks.
Thanks for those slides. That was helpful.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, they were.